Yes. Go back. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I just spontaneously came down just now to the bottom of the garden, the back garden. And I, after seeing a fox sort of disappear down there, I found that you see these berries here. So I'll just do a little. It's the back garden. It's obviously growing quite a lot this spring and summer. So I came down here in like late spring, mid-spring, because I was crying, and I was able to walk basically completely down. I think it does this quite a lot, like every year. Like these plants sort of grow, and then they die, and they grow again. And obviously it's been quite hot recently, and I think we had a bit of rain before that, so it's been pretty optimal for these guys. But other than noticing these like red plants down there, these red flowers, you can see them there. I noticed these berries here, and they're absolutely huge as well. That's my box. You see them? So these ones, absolutely huge, aren't they? Nani, shush, shush. These ones here as well. They're just stunning. A stunning example of, well, depending on what you believe in, what you reject, either a stunning example of God's creation, one of the finer aspects of God's creation, or the God's creation, or a marvel of the natural world, evolution and so forth, or a combination of the two. Whatever you believe in, however you believe that, berries look like this, it's undeniable that they're amazing. Just on an aesthetic level, I think. They're shiny, they're pretty easy to pluck, they're juicy, sweet. They're meant to be appealing, because obviously the plant wants the animal to take the berry and then, digest it, and then obviously excrete the seed that's in the berry, at some point on its journey, and then that will grow again, and that's how they reproduce. Okay, then. Keeps getting caught on the thing, don't you? Yes. But yeah, it's incredible. So I'm going to eat another one, I think. I don't know which one. I'll just go for this one. It's a trick that Will taught me, actually. If you pluck a berry, and the inside of it is, I think he said, if it's green, that means it's good to eat. If it's not green, if it's sort of lost its colour, it means an insect has gone in and eaten it already. I think you can probably see with that one on the left, it's kind of open because something's already been inside it. Whereas the ones that are sort of intact, they're still good to eat. But yeah, you see that? I think that's like incredible. I'm going to eat it. Amazing. there's something so enjoyable, and I think it's because it's like the whole idea of the primitive human. There's something so pure about like plucking fruit and then eating it off the tree. It feels like that's kind of what humans should be doing. You know, that's how we should be consuming. Yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna pluck some of these. I think put them in this box I've got. Put them in the fridge. Maybe eat them a bit later. But yeah, it's a glorious day. Really glorious. Oh, to be young, and able, romantic, and relatively free. I do get that a lot. I feel like I'm like an old man who's been granted his wish of being returned to a young man's body, and like I've been dropped in my memories to live them over again. And I think that's like always a source of gratitude that I can tap into. Yeah. But such is life. Such is life. Isn't that right, Nan? Yes. Alright. I guess I'll pan to myself. Is that what you do? Yeah. Yeah, long-haired Jonas-ish. In the sun. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's like a fox over there. But I guess we'll see, won't we? I guess we'll see. I've got Nani. Either I'll be protecting Nani or she'll be protecting me. Or vice versa, or together, or both. But yeah, for now, farewell. So yeah, I didn't end up picking up many because I think a lot of them were corrupted, let's say. But I got a few. And Nani, bless her, she quite likes them. I'll do a demo. Alright. Nani, what's this? What's this? What's this? Oh, a berry. Look at this. Look at it. I like it. You like that, didn't you, Nan? She loves them. I think it might have been Sina who introduced Nani to berries. But yeah, so these are the ones I got. Only a handful. They were the ones I think that were ripe, but with no like creatures on them that I could see. Oh, those little ones, I guess. That's why it's important to clean them. Clean them as the ones that you do get, which I definitely will do. I can do that now, to be honest. I could put them like. Hey, Nan. Hi. Hello. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of that really. Yeah, I was just thinking. I mean, it was sort of a segue, I guess, from the last thought. But I'll sit down. It's like Hi. Hello. That's quite close actually. What was I going to say? Yeah, it's just like you could look at like, I mean, I think science has always been quite or like nature more specifically, like, has always been quite wonderful to me. You know, I think that's why I tried to tap into that when I studied science at school. You know, like particularly physics or, you know, physics, I think it was one as well. Like, I remember watching one night, I think it was like year 9 or 10, year 9 I think, and I was like really fed up with my physics homework. I was like, I hate physics. Then I remembered like the Professor Brian Cox, and how much I liked, I watched a couple of his programs and how much I liked them. And I decided to watch some of them again that night when I was like 13, 14, and I loved it. Because he has such a way of, he's like a romantic physicist. You know what I mean? I guess he's good looking. He's quite boyish looking. Got that Beatles haircut. His voice is very soothing. He has that nice cadence, and he talks about it with such childlike sort of wonder. That it just tapped into something inside me, and I tried from that moment on to sort of romanticise physics. But I've always, I think, found the outside world to be kind of a place where I can really truly experience what it is to be alive. Because you go out into a forest or a garden or a field or something like that, and hello. How's it going? I love that. You can see like butterflies flying around constantly when I was down there. It was just great. Yeah, I think what was I going to say? You can be anywhere in nature, and by virtue of being in nature, you're surrounded by life, just pure life, just everywhere, and that's like life that is visible. There's like all the visible things you can see, like plants, grass, insects. But then, like, obviously, looking closely at the berries, I could see these little insects like crawling all over them. I think there's millions of them probably just in this garden, crawling around just everywhere. And there's worms in the earth, and there's other creatures, and butterflies, and beetles, and all sorts. I think it's incredible. You could pick like a chunk of earth, let's say, that's the size of your fist, like that, and within that it'd probably be a huge amount of life just in that chunk of earth. I think that's incredible. I mean, nature could be not so incredible, because I came home the other day from work. I'm being reminded of this because there's ants on the table. I came home from work and I got out of my car. Oh, not from work actually, I was out. I think I come out back from seeing Serena, and I opened the door, and on the little step where you kind of go into the garden from the drive, I saw loads of ants, probably hundreds of ants. And they were teeming all over the concrete. And I see that they'd kind of trapped a couple of sort of flies who'd been like accosted, I suppose. And they were being like, the ants were trying to eat them basically. And I saved a couple of them, but I was like, this is nature's also brutal. As much as I could romanticize plants and like all that stuff, it's like they're all competing against each other, and a lot of them are dying, and that's been the case for billions of years. And all the insects you see on fruit, they're trying to eat to survive. because like their lifespan is probably a few days, a week or something at most, relative to us. And you know, it's just incredible, really. It's like nature is also like, it's like at once it can be. I mean, it is beautiful. Like if you just look at it, it is beautiful. Just aesthetically, and like in summer, and just the green. I mean, look at that. Like you've got the green and the blue just together, and the blue kind of is a bit darker there, and it's a bit lighter over there, and so forth. And it's incredible, really. And and that is true, but on the other side of the coin, it's like you can forget the brutality of it. It's like I've always really known about life. Life is neither good, it's not either good or bad, it's obviously both. And that's kind of it, that's it really. There's no two ways about it. Life is wonderful and death is terrible, but the two are intrinsically linked. They're part of the same chain of time, I guess. You know, I think time is definitely a chain, because you're all bound by it to an extent. None of us can escape it. None of us can be without it, apart from it, away from it. We're all bound by it. It's the one thing we all have in common. To get philosophical. Yeah. Yeah. It's I guess it's just one of those things, isn't it? Yeah. You know. And it's kind of, I guess it's a thing I'm just thinking about, like, you know, there's a bird up there right now. You can probably hear it. Kind of hopping amongst the branches of that tree. And, you know, it's like that bird, along with probably every single creature in this garden, is on its way to finding resources of some kind. Whether that's a bird, maybe it's trying to build a nest, I don't know, that's why it's in the tree, or if it's trying to find food, or like worm, or like there's things in the ground that are constantly looking for nutrition. That's how they spend all their time. And I think, yeah, it's like humans, and I think maybe other sort of, I don't know, I've forgotten what the term is, but yeah, increasingly anthropomorphic creatures, primates. It's like the idea of leisure time is such a novelty, you know. The idea that you could have time in your existence, that you could have periods of your existence where you're neither searching for resources or consuming resources. I don't know, is that even possible? Because I guess can you ever have leisure time where you're not consuming resources? I don't think that's possible on a purely biological note, because like you're always burning calories just by virtue of being conscious, and that's burning fuel, or like I'm using a camcorder which I've charged using fossil fuels and etc. But it's like, in a sense that, when I say consuming, I mean, you know, eating food. You know, I think most animals are probably, if they're not looking for food, they're eating it, and then they're looking for more, or they're looking for shelter. It's this constant search and then acquisition. Search and acquisition. And I think it's like, it's like someone who's like artistic and stuff. You can sort of complain about the grind of day-to-day life. And you think, oh, it's just like a cancer of the modern world that people have jobs and they have to work and do stuff like that. Like, why can't we all just have leisure time? Why can't we all do things we enjoy for a living? I know. It's like that just is so fundamentally against nature. That idea. You know, like a human will sit in its car in traffic on the way to work in the morning and home in the evening. The same way that a bird flies to that tree or over there or from this region to that region. It's just all in search of a resource to survive. So, the only difference is that the human can actually, on its journey, can contemplate its journey rather than just simply do it. And it's almost like the intellectualization of labour, or the intellectualization of everything breeds a level of existential suffering, necessarily, It's like, would an ant be depressed if it knew what it was doing, if it was well aware? Maybe they are. I guess we don't really know. We would assume not, because we think that sentience obviously comes from a mind, and the mind is a part of the brain. And if the brain isn't complex enough, not advanced enough, you can't have that mind capacity, and you can't be aware in the same way. Although I think all creatures are they have a degree of awareness. Like a cell will react when you poke it. It will kind of like, it will react. And that shows a level of awareness to its surroundings, because that's what really distinguishes life from non-life, really. Non-life is unable to respond. It's unresponsive. Yeah. It's like life has become so easy for humans now. Yeah, we still complain. I guess because it's all like, and I don't want to sound like, I don't want to say that human feelings are, unwarranted. Of course they are. Any feelings, obviously, they exist for a reason. And whether that reason is perceived to be valid or invalid, I don't think it really matters. Because I'm always a fan of, if you have a feeling that you don't like, a feeling that you want to dissolve or get rid of, then enough talk about whether it's valid. Like, what can we do about it? Like, what can we actually do to help? But I don't know where I was going with this tangent. I think I had a point, but maybe I've expressed it in different parts. You can maybe patch together the essence of what I'm saying. Maybe there's lots of different little points, and they don't have to connect. But yeah, I did cry earlier actually, standing here. I was listening to the last song of John Mayer's first LP. It's called St. Patrick's Day, and I've been listening to like a bit of the album, and I was just stood here feeling quite sad about the transience of things. My usual area of sensitivity, and I cried a bit. But then, yeah, you can go back to the same place later on in the day and feel different feelings. Because, like, philosophers will tell you, you know, you shouldn't really feelings aren't philosophically valid. Feelings are for the realm of psychology or art or that sort of thing. But in the realm of philosophy, you have to divorce your feelings from your mind, which I think is so absurd. I mean, it does. Obviously, it's not absurd in the sense that it's practical a lot of the time. But I think there comes a point where your intellectual philosophy can become an obstacle to the practicalities of how one really feels one should live one's life. At least that's my view. I think you can't ignore feelings forever if you're a philosopher. I think that's what philosophers have had to concede since time immemorial. And some of them simply just accept the irreconcilable nature of the mind versus, I guess, mood discussion. I think it was a Jean-Paul Sartre quote I read the other day on Instagram, which was something like, that there is no God, I cannot deny, but also what I cannot deny is my longing for him, or something like that. I.e., he logically cannot accept the existence of a God, but that doesn't do anything to absolve him of his deep-rooted emotional longing for such a being, for such a prospect. And I would agree with that. I think I relate to that heavily. But it's like, I don't think I can do that. I think I tried to do that for a while. But for me it's all about morality. It's like objective morality. Does it exist or not? I think everything pivots around that. It's the essence of philosophy. I think philosophy always is aiming to answer that. Basically to affirm that there are objective moral values. Because if there aren't, we're all fucked. I think we're back to prehistory chaos. And I try, it's like I can't logically, I can't rationalise objective morality really, unless I just axiomatically state that a god or gods exist. But I couldn't prove that, even that. So I can't prove or provide evidence for objective morality. But personally, I cannot live unless I accept that they do exist, or that it does exist. Mentally, I go somewhere completely insane, because then you question everything, which I do enough of anyway. But I have to have an anchor. Things that I really believe to be important and essential, necessary. I need that. I think that's just the personality that I am. For me to live effectively and compassionately, artistically, and morally, I have to accept that. You know, I can't deny that in my heart, because my heart fundamentally cannot accept that anything goes.